To add the skin effects, I'm going to use clay buildup. And I'm going to pretty much use the default setting. But what's important is how I use clay buildup. That's what's going to be really important. So let me explain that right off the bat. What I'll do is add form and then press Alt to subtract and go back over that. So I'll add and then I'll press Alt and I'll let go of Alt and I'll press Alt, and I'll do that all over the surface to kind of give me that staccato feel. Now something else I might do, because clay buildup can be quite a powerful brush, is that I will change its depth. And so this is another feature that we're going to be learning about, another aspect of brushes. So let me take the brush palette here and I'm going to click the swatch to send it over. I'm going to press R just to get rid of all that extra stuff. And I'm going to open up what's called the depth subpalette. I'm looking at this embed feature. Now it's not 0, it's set to 20. My screen drawing program makes me switch to a different brush for these kinds of things. So now clay buildup is set to 20, and I'm going to click that and adjust that down to 5, which is going to lower the impact of things. So for example, here's 5, here's 53. You can see 53 gets out of hand pretty quick. 5 is quite easy. The alpha is creating the primary shape here. I can come into alpha and texture and I can increase alpha tile to 3. And so that starts to change the brush a little bit. It basically tiles that alpha 3 times within the stroke, which really becomes, 9 times, but it's 9 times with a directionality because all of these blend together and all of these blend together and on from there. So it's basically 3 strokes. You got to be careful about doing this though, because it tends to show. So the repetition tends to show. You can also change the alpha. You can go in here and you can select, say, one of these other guys, like alpha 59 or alpha 60, and you can see if that'll work for you. But in my experience, this is too repetitive. It's much too, how do I say it? Much too common. So what I want to do is I'm just going to smooth all this out, because some of it's good. And I'm going to switch back to clay buildup, but I'm going to make sure it has alpha 28. And I'm going to make sure alpha tile is set to 1. And let's just start going around getting the muscle directionality. So the orbicularis oculi is going to be coming around in this circular fashion. So I just want to get all of that in there. Take your time. I'm going to go a little fast because you'll get bored quickly if you see the whole thing evolving as slow as it really should evolve. But feel free to take a lot more time than I do. A lot. I'm trying to get a... Yeah, there we go. I want to increase that embed. In order to get this zombie flesh, I might just have to be a little aggressive. It's a little bit of a cheat to get these upper eyelids, but yeah, I did need to get a little bit more aggressive. Okay, that orbicularis oculi actually extends quite far. Okay, let's add some of the wrinkles. And just brushing back and forth. Adding some complexity, some changes, get some weirdness to the fat underneath there. Let's really stretch the tendons. Just see what I can do to kind of add some oddness. Okay, we're going to get wrinkles. Turning symmetry off. Okay, and then symmetry back on. Let's move down to the lips. Okay, I'm just cutting in, so it's pressing Alt. Okay, I'm just trying to get some cross directionality, kind of like what you'd see with a mummy. Then I'm going to come around. We're going to do this a couple of times. Muscle fibers moving in one direction. Then they move in right into the nodule, and then we're going to get the fibers moving out, making sure that I still am thinking about form. The upper lip is still dominant over the lower lip, but don't build up too much of a plumpy lip structure. Cutting in. Triangularis. Cross it as well. Get just a little random stuff for the chin, doesn't really matter. And now for the yeah. Okay. So take a look, and let's just send our brush to the, we'll just get rid of it, just click the swatch, drag to the center. That's the texturing we're doing. You can always augment the texturing. You go to this bottom portion, this little untitled layer down here, and set that to whatever you want. So if you don't like the direction it's going, you can start to experiment. Do I want this to be more, less, things like that. I kind of feel like all of this is too subtle, so I want to make it more, but there's some tools that we're going to look at that are going to allow that to happen. I tried to sculpt outside of the layer, but once you have layers, you really need to be working inside the layer. So I had to turn record back on. And I'm going to go into brush. I'm going to set my embed to 20. See if I can speed this up for you. Little directionality up here in the forehead area. Cutting across. Okay, getting a little bit more careless. And you can turn symmetry off as well. And then just make sure you turn it back on. So it's on right now for when I do the sides. Add a little bit of that lower lip and just come down. Lower eyelid, sorry. Add some interesting little flesh tweening about, interconnecting. It's up to you. Alright, and we've done a little bit of a job of texturing. Okay, all of it in another layer, all of it using clay buildup, and what we really learned was the depth feature. So depth is important, and relative to the clay brushes and these new topology independent brushes, it's unimportant for standard. I would ignore it completely for the standard brush. Clay buildup, it's important. Alright, let's look in another video how we can start to take all of this and start to do some other things, some post-processing to it while learning more about ZBrush.